guys, welcome back to another video. Let's talk Redfall. The footage you're seeing right now on the screen, if you're wondering, is I streamed this game for about 3 hours, and I wanted to just give my thoughts on how I feel about this game after playing it for 3 hours. I know that may not be the most amount of time, but I feel like I have a good first impression of what I think about this game. So I played it on the Xbox Series X, and obviously at the 30 frames per second. Now, obviously, if you're looking around, right, Redfall has had a terrible reception. It isn't in the best state. It has like a 62 on Metacritic, and for multiple good reasons as to why it is sitting at that score. And I'll get into that as we talk through my impressions of Redfall. But I want to talk about what I truly think. I don't want to be hyperbolic around it because there's always hyperbole when it comes to this kind of stuff on one side or the other. I'm going to try to be as objective as possible. I know a lot of people out there won't believe me with some of the things that I say, but I'm going to be as objective as possible as I can and give you my true first impressions. And if you were in the stream, you probably already know how I feel about playing this game on the Xbox Series X so far. So 30 frames per second. Is it good? Is it bad? It is steady. That's what I will say. Obviously, this game needs to be 60 frames per second on the Xbox. I don't see any reason why Arcane couldn't get this game at 60 frames per second in terms of visual fidelity and all that type of stuff, other than the game is just not ready. It's just simply not ready. That's why it's at 30 frames per second. They didn't have time to optimize it. And for that reason alone, I feel like they should have delayed it until they were able to get it at 60 FPS. Now, I haven't played it on PC, but I saw a lot of people in the chat saying they were playing it on PC and they were getting great frame rates. So I will check it out on PC and just see how different that feels. But besides that, it was steady. Like, I didn't feel that terrible playing it at 30 frames per second, believe it or not. It was a steady experience. There wasn't any, or if there was, I didn't really notice it. Very many frame drops. I didn't see any of that. It was steady, which is better than nothing, you could say. One thing I will say when it comes to the 30 frames per second on the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S is that I suggest going in and using the FOV slider and putting it to its max. I felt that actually made it snappier and feel smoother, believe it or not. Also, I got rid of the motion blur and the game just felt better after doing those two quick adjustments. Because when you first jump in, you have the motion blur on high and your field of view is 90, and it did feel a little bit clunkier. But making those two changes, the game felt better. So 30 FPS. Is it the end of the world right now since the game is out? Like, we can't go back and delay this thing. So let's not live in the past anymore. The game has been launched. The game has been released. If you're wondering, should you go and check this game out? If you don't have a PC and able to get 60 FPS, should you go play it with 30 FPS on your Xbox? And I would say, give it a try. I mean, give it a try. See how you feel. I was able to play for 3 hours and it didn't really destroy my experience. And I'll get into that, why I'm saying that. It's because I had fun playing this game for 3 hours, and the 30 FPS didn't completely destroy that. So that's overall, when it comes to 30 FPS, what my thoughts are on that. When the overall game itself, again, it just isn't polished. The game wasn't ready, but there are lots of good things here and lots of good ideas that when this game does get ready, once they update it and once they bring it to its full potential, I think could be really good. So first of all, the open world is pretty cool. The exploration wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It is a little bit dead. I wish there was more stuff going on, but going into different houses with the lights out, vampires popping out, with blood on the ground, all this type of stuff, the atmosphere is definitely there. And I think they continue to update it and bring that atmosphere, even make it even better than it currently is. I feel like it's going to be a pretty good thing. The premise of the game with the vampires, very cool. I mean, killing the vampires and then staking them to the heart, one of the most satisfying things in this game so far. I thought it was fun every single time taking on a bunch of vampires, and they move around. Like, they aren't that easy to kill. They move around, they jump left and right, they warp, all of this type of stuff. So the vampires were fun. Now the cultists, on the other hand, were much easier to kill because they didn't warp and they're just humans. But there were some AI issues for sure with the cultist. I mean, there are sometimes the cultist wouldn't even be looking at me and shooting his weapon. But I didn't run into too many problems with that. I'm seeing a lot of videos online of glitches with the AI. And I haven't seen as many as some people are pointing out, but there definitely is glitches with the AI. But the actual gunplay taking out the cultists was pretty fun. The turrets and everything, there's different ways you definitely have to go around each section of the map. You can't just really go in guns blazing. You will die. You do actually have to use your skills and your strategy to take on different sections of the map, which I thought was a very big positive of this game from what I've played. And to be clear, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but I played co-op for the majority of it, and then I played solo for a bit, and it definitely is a different experience. Playing in co-op was better than playing solo, I found, just because it was just like you're more strategic. You're talking with the person you're playing with and coming up with different ways to take on the batch of enemies ahead of you. So that was pretty cool. But then solo was fun as well, but you definitely had to, you couldn't go in guns a-blazing solo. You really had to have strategy, kind of sit back, snipe. I was Jacob, so I was cloaking, using my Raven a lot to see where the enemies were, kind of trying to circle around them, all that type of stuff, which I think is great. I think the strategy side of this game, if the AI is improved and fixed, will be a ton of fun. So there's that. And then the other section, I guess we could talk about, was the overall look of this game. Again, it just seems unpolished. That's essentially what I have to say. It doesn't look terrible. It definitely has that arcane feel to it. It looks like the graphics themselves maybe aren't completely polished, in the sense that the resolution isn't the highest, or I'm not really sure what it is. I can't tell. This isn't like a technical review, but it just doesn't seem as completely polished overall. So if you're listening to this, you may be thinking there's a lot more negative than positive, but I will emphasize at the end of the day, there's a lot of people shitting on this game like it's the worst thing to ever come out. And I absolutely wouldn't say that. I would say once this game gets updated, once they bring it to its final state where it should be, I think it will be a very good experience, because for 3 hours, I had fun playing through the game. I had fun finding new weapons, looting, going through my inventory, figuring out how I'm going to strategically get through a certain section, get through a certain mission. And I think there's also going to be a lot of lore in this game that they could easily expand upon. But the bottom line is, the game isn't ready on Xbox. I haven't checked it on PC, but on Xbox, the game isn't ready, because there's no reason why this game shouldn't be at 60 frames per second. And I think this is more of a hit against Xbox management, more so than Arcane and them developing the game. I feel like Xbox pushed this game out because they needed to get something out, and they didn't want to wait any longer. But they should have kept it in development for a couple more months, however long they needed, because I feel like now, because the scores are so low for some people, like 60 on Metacritic to some people is like the end of the world. Never touch it, never even give it a try at any point in their life. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that just don't give this game a chance. And I think that's an unfortunate thing, because there is a lot here that could be very good. I'm definitely going to continue to play it. Like I said, when it comes to games, for me, I'm not somebody who goes and pixel counts and looks at the FPS for everything. I'm playing it, and I'm actually just organically trying to determine how I feel. Am I having fun, or am I forcing myself to slug through whatever the game is? And I will say, at the end of the day, even in 30 frames per second on the Xbox Series X, I had fun playing it for 3 hours. And I'm absolutely not lying about that. I'm trying to be as objective as possible. And the other thing I do want to mention, my wife, who I was playing with in co-op, has no bias towards anything. Just somebody who doesn't follow the games industry, likes to play the odd game, which I feel will be like a lot of people who jump on to Game Pass and see Redfall there. They won't be following the games industry to a T. They won't even really potentially even know or notice the 30 FPS if they don't follow all that type of stuff. They'll just turn on Redfall once they see it's on Game Pass and play through it, and probably will have some fun. I asked her what she really thought about it, and she said it was fun. I mean, she was having fun. She would say she would give it like a 7 out of 10 if she had to give it a score, but she was having fun, and she actually had to leave for a bit, and she was sad that she wasn't able to jump back on before going to bed. So I don't know if that even means anything to anyone, or if that will matter on how people feel about it, but was my first 3 hours experience of Redfall. And again, we can live in the past all we want. At this point, the game is released, and I feel like There will be a lot of updates coming to this game. It will get better. And once that happens, I guess the hope is for the game itself that people are still interested in playing at that point, which is why I believe this was an Xbox mismanagement thing more so than an Arcane thing, where they probably didn't want to put this game out right now. Now, I will play it on PC later. I may do a stream while playing it on PC and see just how much smoother it does feel, because 30 FPS, I played for 3 hours and my head didn't hurt. And I think that is saying something at the end of the day, but I don't know. So I'll leave it there, guys, because I see there's a lot of outrage about this game. I see like it almost feels like you can't say that you had any fun playing with it, but I'm not going to hold back and I'm going to be honest with what I thought. Official thing I have to say at the end, game needs work. It's not ready, should have been delayed, but I had fun playing it. So take that for what you will. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
We'll be right back.